Hi, everybody. Good morning. Sorry for the delay in setting up. Thanks very much for joining us today for our webinar on Sicon's shop floor data collection module for Sage 200. This session is a follow-on from last month's overview of the Sicon manufacturing module. We'll, of course, add the link for that if you haven't seen that already when we start sharing the actual video itself. My name's Howard Murphy. I'm Business Development Manager for DB Computer Solutions. I'm joined by Michelle Duford from Sicon, who joins us this morning once more. She'll be running through the shop floor data collection module. So what we'll be looking at here today is Michelle will be taking us through the features and benefits of using this module in conjunction with that Sicon manufacturing. And rather, I'm quite aware of death by PowerPoint and bullets, but for those who don't know, shop floor data collection does as it says and brings functionality down to the individual on the factory floor. Feeding works order tasks to the user while providing live information as an overview to others. Using barcoding functionality, it allows users to scan activities and operations, ensuring that although they're recording information as they go, it doesn't impact on their productivity. So I'll be sending a copy of the slideshow out to everybody, but of course it's included here as part of the actual recording also. So as discussed in our last session, both Sicon and DB Computer Solutions are here to understand what your requirements are and what level of solution is best suited to your business. Michelle will be giving you an overview of this product today, but we'd be very happy to organize a one-to-one session where we can properly talk to you about your business and offer you a fuller demonstration based on your needs. Before I hand you over to Michelle, I'd remind you to put forward any questions through the Q&A facility or through the chat in itself. And we do our level best to give you answers at the end of the session. I'd also point out that if your shared screen is too small, if you're using Teams, of course, click on View. At the top of the screen, choose Focus on Content, and I think it's under View or More, you'll also be able to show full screen to give you the best view possible. So, Michelle, if you're there, hello.
I am indeed.
Good stuff. What I'd ask is I'm just going to hand this over to Michelle. She's going to share her screen now. So if you can, if you want to take over the share there,
I can indeed.
If you can go through it there. And if you can give us a run through from there, Michelle, please.
Fantastic. So thank you for the introduction, Howard. As Howard has alluded to, we have been running a series of webinars in conjunction with the guys at DB for you to get an overview of the manufacturing solutions that we offer. What we've done so far is we've looked at our works order processing, material planning, kitting, projects as part of the full manufacturing suite. And that is the suite that comes out of the box, if you like. Those are the modules that come out with a manufacturing suite. What you then have is the ability to add functionality onto that using and utilizing other modules, one of which is shop floor data capture. So that's the one that we're going to have a little look at today. So the premise behind shop floor data capture is that your users, the non-Sage users, the guys that are going to be doing the work, the most important people in your business, the guys that are logging on to a operation within a works order are going to be able to do that remotely and feed you live information. So the key thing behind that is really about giving some level of access to your core data to those guys on the shop floor so that they can feed real-time information back to you, so that you're not going in and doing retrospective reporting and you're not going in and entering in time on their behalf against your works order. But it's important to understand what the works order is actually giving us in the background. So when we talk about shop floor data capture, we're really talking about the processes that you go through, the stage of manufacturing, the stages of manufacturing that you go through. So does it start with a production person? Then does it go to the painting department? Then does it go on to another operation where they go and calibrate it? And then from calibration, does it move on to packing it? So those stages of operation that you will design within your bill of materials is what we're looking to capture time against using shop floor data capture. And it's so that those individuals that are actually doing the work can give you that level of information. So in order to understand what shop floor data capture is going to do for us, this is what we're going to go into in just a second. Let's have a little look and see what my work order and corresponding bill of materials is going to instruct us to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is just pop ourselves into the bill of materials module, and we're just going to pop ourselves in here to an item, which of course I have components on, and I also have operations. So these are those steps of manufacture that I mentioned. Behind your operation, you have the opportunity to tell the system how long that's going to take. This is a 25-minute standard operation for me. I have that in a library that I can choose from, and my resources that are required to do that. So this particular element is going to be performed by my assembler team. So you'll then have behind the team a number of individuals, employees that sit within that team. What you're also able to do behind this operation is to define whether or not it's an internal operation, something that you do internally, or whether or not you are going to deploy a subcontract process for this. Not part of shop floor data capture, those bits, but this bit does have a knock-on effect, which is your ability to mark this particular operation as an inspection operation. The inspection operation gives you an additional tab, and that additional tab allows me to develop and refine and define the questions that we need answered at the end or at the beginning of each operation. So each stage of manufacture, do we want the guys not only to tell us how much time they've actually spent doing that and what materials they use doing it, but also what the result of that was before it can move on to the next stage of manufacture. So you can have a mixture of operations that are inspection operations and non-inspection operations. You can make the questions that you present to the individuals mandatory or not. You can, I've got a very basic one here, guys, the completion date. Did it pass? Did it fail? Who was it completed by? But the reality is that you can make these as complicated as you need to. When I go in and add a question, I might add things like, can you take a meter reading? Can you take a picture? Can you add a file? So that we can truly inspect your work before we then move on to the next stage. And shop floor data capture is going to allow me to capture that level of information electronically. I can produce these as reports that we then attach back in. Of course I can. That's part of normal standard solution. But by using shop floor data capture, we're going to get a digitally presented list of things that we've done, operations that we've completed, time that we've allocated to them, and materials that we've used. And that's our aim on the back of this. So this one, like I say, has been configured to do that. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to go in and we're going to put a brand new works order on. You can see I've got a few of these, but we're going to create a brand new one for us today, just so that we can actually see that live in the system. So in goes my new works order for my STR. I'm going to have one of them create the works order. You will have seen from previous demonstrations that there are multiple ways of being able to create works orders. I've just done it manually, set something into production. I could have done this off the back of my MRP recommendation. I could have done it off the back of a workflow from my sales order. I've literally just gone in and created a works order. It's now exploded my bill of materials. My bill of materials, as you can see, gives me a list of all of the components and those operations. In the labour section, I could go in and enter in the time manually. However, what we're going to do is use shop floor data capture to get that time in. And I just want you to see that there is no time allocated to that operation at this point. We have an estimated amount of time that we think it's going to take, the 25 minutes, and an estimated cost based on the cost of the resource that's going to do that. What we're going to capture is the actual time that my employee spent doing this particular operation. I'm also going to select all of my components and just allocate as much as I possibly can. Okay, where I do have stock of it, I'll then be allowed to allocate the stock. So my allocation is done. The reason why that's important is because I want you to see that those components are now going to be usable by the operator in shop floor data capture. In other words, he's going to be able to tell us that he's used them, and that has the net effect of issuing them. So at the moment, while they're allocated to us, they're still in our work in progress, they're still our stock. Once the shop floor data capture user uses them, it will then move them from being allocated to issued. You can do all of this within the works order, but if you're using shop floor data capture, you may as well take advantage of some of the other things that you can do, and that's exactly what we're going to see. So as far as Sage is concerned, that's how my works order is currently sitting. Allocated product, no time assigned to it. So now what we're going to do is exactly what your guys on the shop floor will do. So I've got a device which is just an Android device. I've got an individual device that I've got multiple applications on, but the normal for shop floor data capture is that it's normally a tablet that multiple people will use. They will come up and they may be able to wave a fob at it. They may also put a fingerprint on it, depends on the hardware that you're using. But the idea is that shop floor data capture is designed to enable you not only to capture time against the operations, but there is also an option for time and attendance as well. So we can actually view the time when somebody enters the building. That will go to perform some kind of fire list for us. So my employee is here, they entered the building at 8:45 this morning. But at that point in time, he's not actually working on any operations. So time and attendance gives us the opportunity to capture that time. We ourselves, Sicon, use the time and attendance piece of this. When we walk into our office, there is no manufacturing to be done, but it's just capturing the time that we arrived and the time that we left and the time that we went to lunch. Quick and easy, little Android tablet that enables that to happen. Each employee has their own password, 4-digit code actually, that's entered in so that it logs you into the building. And that's actually controlled inside of Sage here in shop floor data capture. And you can see I've got a number of employees. My employee today is going to be a user called Lewis. Good old Lewis, as you can see, has been denoted to be a shop floor data capture user. So that enables it for him. You can also see the PIN number that he's going to log in with. That's all held in the background. Each individual user has their own PIN to log in. If you are using tags, then again, those proximity tags can be stored in here. And likewise, I've even got a customer that has actually got a barcode representing the 4444 that sits on the pass that they have that comes in, and they scan that as I'm here. There's various different ways in which you can do it, and again, all depends on the hardware that you guys want to use, but that's absolutely your choice. So long as it's an Android device, we're happy with that. Okay, just a quick note about what shop floor data capture gives you inside of Sage, because of course it is a way of being able to capture time against my works order, but likewise there is also the opportunity for me to go in and actually see in the inquiry screen the people that are currently clocked in, to view the timesheet clock-in lines. And in the entry, you can actually see that you can go in and amend the timesheet clock-in lines if you've got access to it, if you're that type of user, and you can enter in timesheet entry as well. There are some settings that are going to sit in the background that ultimately allow you to be able to go in and define what you want users to be able to do. You can see that you can enable auto clock out with work patterns. You can disable time and attendance. You can use shop floor data capture independently of time and attendance. You can use time and attendance independently of shop floor data capture, or you can use both together. You can see mine is actually set from a shop floor data capture perspective to auto log out after 5 seconds. It just basically means that it's going to clear the screen down for the next person that's coming along. So a few settings that sit in the background to control the way that we do certain things. For us today, excuse me, I'm just going to refresh my list. I'm going to see my works order 286. And now that's what we've got inside of Sage. What we're going to do is do the stuff that we do as the shop floor data capture user. So you can see over here, there's a little menu option for shop floor data capture. I've got lots of other things from Sicon switched on in here. I've got Sicon CRM, Sicon service, Sicon barcoding. They're all other modules that, should you wish to have a look at them, Howard can arrange for you. So please do let us know if there's any of those that are of interest to you. But the one that we're most interested in is the Sicon shop floor data capture. So this is the screen that most people are presented with when they arrive in the morning or when they go back to that screen, and it is simply a keypad that says, tell me who you are. But like I say, if you're using a device that enables you to put in some kind of biometrics, if you're using a device that enables you to wave a fob at it, absolutely fine. It's all dependent on the hardware. For me, I'm simply going to enter in my PIN number. So having entered my PIN number in, it automatically knows that that is Lewis. So there it recognizes that this is Lewis's PIN number. And then we have an option to clock him in. Before we clock in, you could set a default location that Lewis always clocks into. But the reality is that if there are multiple, we can choose them. I'm going to set mine to be the main warehouse, and I'm going to clock in. So having clocked in, the next thing that Lewis is then presented with is a work list. So not only can we perform time against works orders, but if you are a projects user, and again, something that you might want to look at in more detail, then we can also set operations against projects too. But from a manufacturing perspective, it's the works order that we're interested in today. There are settings to control the way in which we actually are able to log in, whether we are able to work on multiple things at the same time, multi-start, whether or not we allow you to be able to see activity that you're already logged into, so you can see your user activity, and indeed whether or not you're going to use a separate barcode scanner, maybe a Bluetooth scanner that sits on each individual's workstation, for instance, or on their production line, that enables them to scan the barcodes, which will actually appear on the root card from the works order. So there's a couple of options. I could simply go in and say, right, show me everything that's in my work list. And this will show me a list of all of those works orders. And as you can see, our new works order number 286, is there presenting itself for me to log into. However, if you would like to actually produce your root card inside of Sage, I'm just going to pop myself back into that works order. This is again standard out of the box. If I go in and actually print my root card, that root card is a list of instructions, a list of things that we do, which will also present a barcode to represent each operation and the works order identification itself. So a lot of people, if they are manufacturing something that takes time, they will produce the root card and it will accompany that item as it is manufactured. So just to show you that, so I'm just going to go into my spooler and we're just going to have a look at that root card. And you'll see that the root card does indeed detail out each operation, and it gives a barcode for each operation. And there's also a barcode here that represents my works order. So in simple terms, I could scan that barcode. It'll take me directly to that works order, or I could scan that barcode to say I'm the unit assembler and that's what I'm working on, and it will take me directly to the operation. So both of those options are absolutely valid. So rather than going in and looking at my works order list and deciding what I'm working on, I can scan the barcode. It will take me directly to it. Either option, we're going to go in to my works order and we're just going to click on works order 286. And this is where it becomes really quick and easy, guys. So essentially you've got three columns. The first column is your quick understanding of what it is that works order is there to produce. The second column is a list of those operations which I'm able to perform. I'm logged in as a user called Lewis. Lewis sits as part of a team called production. and he is able to do the assembly operations. He's not a packer, and therefore he will not see the operation to do the packing. And the third column is the materials column. So all of those things that I showed you that we allocated within the works order are now apparent for my user, the shop floor data capture user, so that they can tell us, yes, I've used them, or no, I haven't used them. They can also add additional parts in. This is really handy for an awful lot of our customers where a defined bill of materials has been created, but actually where we've used more than we anticipated that we should have done, I can add additional componentry in. So again, it just makes that nice and easy. Things that would have been fed back manually can now be done automatically. So we're just going to go back to my operation. We're going to log on to that operation. So I can add time, I can do a rework, I can start that operation. Starting that operation means the clock starts ticking and you'll see it sitting at the top here and running away. Now I can move away. So after 5 seconds, this is actually going to go back to that front screen because I've literally just said, I've started that and now I'm going to go and do my work. I don't need to watch that happening. Nobody else needs to watch that happening. I can simply come out of there and somebody else can log in and off they go and do their things. And as you can see, I'm already into something and therefore it will then present me with a little user count here so I can see in that user activity what I'm currently logged into. So that's what's going to happen. We're just simply going to go away and do the work that we do. Obviously, I'm going to do my work a little quicker than the 25 minutes that we anticipated. So we're just going to pop ourselves back into the works order. So just back into that works order one more time. I'm not going to wait for the 25 minutes, guys. I'm, of course, going to go back in here and I'm going to stop and complete that operation. Before I do that, however, I'm just going to go back into my materials. I just want you to see that I am indeed able to issue that edge banding. So literally what's allocated to me can now be used. So I'm saying, yes, please issue it. I'm not going to use all of my components. I'm just going to use one of them just so that you can actually see that back inside of Sage. And as you can see, it then turns green for me. Back into my operation one more time. And we will indeed now stop and pause that. I'm going to say that I'd like to fully complete that. So I could go to lunch. Stop and pausing it means that I can put in a reason as to why I'm stopping and pausing. But I'm simply going to say, yeah, I have indeed fully completed it. And it's at this point that your inspection questions have been configured to appear. You could make those inspection questions appear when you log on to the operation. So you've got choices on when that actually activates itself. For me, it's when I complete the operation, it's now going to say to me, is this what you've done? So I can put in a completed time. I can say, yes, it did indeed pass. Who it was completed by. Yes, it was completed by Bob. What the inspection status is. I can fail it. I can hold it. I can review it. I can put testing required. I'm simply going to say that it has indeed passed. And as I confirm that through, that will now complete my operation for me. So the time for that one operation, so I've got 100% of time across 2 operations. I've done one of the operations, therefore I'm 50% complete. The actual time that I used is 5.91% of the estimated time that we'd actually configured against the operation. In simple terms, however, I've done what I need to do. I can now carry on and do the next works order. So I can go into works order 285 or 6021, go and do some more work there, carry on regardless, or I can log out. By logging out, the next person is available to log in. But in simple terms, back inside of my works order, I'm going to show you what the system has automatically entered in for me. So first things first, you can obviously see here that our edge banding that we issued has now got a status as having been issued, and in the history we can actually see that issue as having taken place at 10:29 by our shop floor data capture user. In the operations, in other words, in my labour, when we actually highlighted this line previously, there was no actual time entered against the assembler operation. Should I highlight that now? My assembler operation, as you can see, tells me that it was Lewis that did it. He completed one. He spent a lot less time on it than we actually anticipated. So there's our actual time in comparison to our estimated time. And there is our line cost in relation to Lewis's cost rate and the amount of time that he's actually spent on it. In simple terms, guys, that's what shop floor data gives us. It is real-time information fed through to a works order, fed also into a timesheet for Lewis, and a time and attendance solution that enables me to capture entry times and exit times, and also produce things like a fire list as an example. So if we were to go back into my device one more time, you can actually see, so all I've done there, guys, is I've literally just hit that button. So the fire alarm goes off, somebody goes to that device, they can hit the fire list, they can see those people that are in the building. That is shop floor data capture. Like I say, it is an addition to the manufacturing suite from Sicon. It provides you with all of the real-time data back to your works order so that you get actual times, and it will give you the ability for them to be able to issue the component parts. So it makes that not just real-time data visible, but it makes the time to achieve real-time data and update your works orders greatly reduced. That's it from me.
As you say, Michelle, it's an extension out effectively of the functionality you've got within
Absolutely.
that module. And look, as we sort of mentioned in the last webinar, that when we were covering Sicon manufacturing, it's, you know, again, it's a seamless integration of the actual modules that look very similar to what's already existing in 200. So, you know, you have the benefit of that out on the actual handheld devices out on the factory floor.
Absolutely. And like I say, it's a very, very cost-effective way of getting that real-time information, but it may be a second phase to your manufacturing process. The idea is to put those building blocks in place, as you know, Howard, and then evolve into this type of scenario.
It. And that's why we've structured the webinars in the way that we've done as well. Obviously, you know, we have to factor in a couple of things when we're putting the likes of shop floor data collection, you know, in place. Obviously, the devices are of critical importance, but also the coverage throughout the actual factory itself. You know, that's something from the scoping session and the, you know, an on-site visit that we be able to get to grips with and advise the actual client on prior to putting in anything like this as well.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's technology is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But it does rely on you to have the infrastructure in place. So you're absolutely right, Howard. So there's an element of understanding where it works within your business and what you need to do to enable it. In real terms, it is just a Wi-Fi connection. But actually, as we all know, sometimes it's difficult to get a Wi-Fi connection. And the coverage of that. So yeah, work with these guys from a hardware perspective as well, and they'll be able to advise you what the best move forward is.
Very good. Now, before we get to, we have a couple of questions that we've to answer, but just to point out a couple of things to people as well, Michelle, maybe you can help me with this. You know, obviously we try and identify certain trends, you know, within businesses and also how they operate as well. So, you know, key to everything, I alluded to it at the intro earlier on, was the fact that, you know, we want to maintain productivity. It's great to trap this kind of information. But, you know, we wanted to get across the point that they don't necessarily have to stop every 5 seconds as well just to feed the system itself.
No.
We can record this stuff in quite a general manner as they move. You know, and I've seen in situations where they don't necessarily have to have each have access like this, but they can have points at workstations effectively that
Exactly
they
that.
can
And that's
operate
actually,
from.
in terms of shop floor data capture, Howard, that's the most normal. Like I say, I've got it running on an individual device per person, but actually the most normal for shop floor data capture is that single tablet that people go to. So it may be one per 10 people, or one per workstation, or one per production line, or one as you walk into the building and one as you walk out of the building. So there's a variety of different things that work for in different circumstances.
Because not to scare anybody off, because I've come across situations before where, you know, at a workstation, it does come down to individuals as well, and individual skill sets, and you want them to just continue doing what they're doing on a daily basis without it being too invasive in how they're managing it. So for certain people, all they really want to be able to say is, I've started that job, I've finished, I've finished, or that's complete, and tap through what they need to do. In some cases, every hour or whenever it is that they're actually entering this information in. So just so you can get the bare minimum as an overview back, you know, through the actual main consoles, so you can see that live and real time. So we're very sort of conscious as to how things like this are applied in any particular business to make sure that that productivity is upkept. And of course, you know, that kind of change management with individuals, they're there to do a job. You know, we're not there to add to the work. We're there to sort of just, you know, to track this stuff. That's all.
And like I say, when I log in here and I enter in and I see my work list as it is. So again, we're just going to go in and continue in here. That's basically giving you some choice. What do I want to be able to log on to? But in real terms, 90% of my customers don't do it like this. In real terms, they have their root card, as I mentioned earlier on, and all they have is a barcode scanner that sits at their workstation, which is connected via Bluetooth to this panel. So all we know is they're here, and they simply scan that barcode and go, starting that, and then scan that barcode again, finishing that. That is it.
Okay.
That's all that they need to do. Yeah.
So let's get to some of the questions coming in. Carl has a couple of them here.
No worries.
Can components be recorded as scrapped against each operation?
So you're not necessarily recording them as scrap here. All you're really doing is telling the system what you've used out of what has been allocated to that item. So you don't allocate the scrap at this point. At the point at which you say, I'm using more, or that you are scrapping an individual item, all you're actually doing is adding. You are not scrapping. The scrapping process can only take place inside of Sage. It is something, however, that we are looking at in future iterations of shop floor data capture. But at this point in time, no, you do not allocate scrap in shop floor data capture.
Yeah, and just a point on that as well, you know, as these changes occur, you know, we keep our client base sort of, you know, up to date on anything new that's there also. And also don't be afraid to contact us if, you know, if you find regardless of Sicon or Sage, whatever it is, if you find you're doing too many sort of manual operations, do get in touch with us, and, you know, we'll point out what you can do either with the existing system, or rather than reinvent the wheel, there's something else there that can help you. So another question here from Carl. Fire list at SFDC login. I presume this details employees currently in the building should there be an emergency.
Yeah. So again, it is simply, let's just pop myself out of here, guys. Hold on. It literally is that. It's no more complicated than seeing those people that are currently clocked in that haven't yet left from a TNA perspective. So these are the guys that are in the building. So it can be run here on that device, and it can also be run inside of Sage. When we go into our inquiry, we can actually view the current clock-ins in here as well. So again, you can do that by location. You can do it by employee. You can say show all, and you'll get a list of who's in and where they are.
Very good. If there's any other questions, of course, please fire them at us. I'm just going to share my screen here for a second. So, yeah, if there are any other questions, please pop them on to us. You know, via Teams, of course. If you send anything sort of post webinar, we can pick up on it. We can come back to you on it. If you are looking for any kind of one-to-one on anything specifically through the system, of course, we can organize that as well. I forgot to turn my camera back on. There you go. Yeah, so look, what we will be doing is that some people missed the start of it as well. So what we will be sending out a copy of the actual recording as and when we have it actually compiled and put up on our YouTube channel as well. We will be adding in sort of links to the previous webinar as well, together with one or two of the other sort of Sicon modules that'll benefit you also. So unless anybody else has anything else to add, Michelle, I don't know if you've anything further to add to what we've actually shown already today.
No, like I say, there's a variety of different things that we can talk about to expand on what the art of the possible is with manufacturing. We've looked at the manufacturing suite, we've looked at shop floor data capture. Many of our clients will use other solutions for things like, let's say, for instance, if you were looking at material planning and you wanted some level of approval before the material planning recommendation becomes a purchase order, we have an approval solution that integrates directly into that. The approval solution also has a timesheet solution in it as well for those non-manufacturing approval-based, project-based people. We can look at all of those things, but we're going to keep on doing these, Howard, aren't we, together?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd invite people to register for those things which are of relevance, but also remember that when you invest in Sage 200 with any of the Sicon modules, that you're investing in a platform for scalability. So yes, those building blocks enable us to come back to you time on time, and for you to come back to us to look for other solutions that we can present for you. So happily do that for you and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, great stuff. And just thanks everybody for their time for joining in today. You see, you'll be able to contact me there, howard@dbcomp.ie. Please reach out. And like I say, if there's any questions or if you want us to actually call out on site or just go through any queries that you may have with the existing copy of 200, please reach out. Other than that, we'd like to both thank you very much for joining today, and we'll hope to see you at the next one.
Perfect. Thanks very much.